One beer style came along and ruined it for everybody.
Here we go. Buckle up. Here we go. Coming to you virtually live from the Beer to Whiskey Studios on the floor of the Greenville Beer Exchange Tap Room on Lawrence Street in wonderful downtown Greenville, South Carolina. I'm Russ Heaps, and welcome to this episode of Big John in 5. That's where I get my good buddy over here, Big John Richards, on the other end of the dais to pick a beer from one of GBX's 20 taps or more.
We're on a dais.
Or, yeah, this is a dais. 20 taps or more, or 50 to 100, 200 cans and bottles of beers that they have in the retail shop up front, where we got this one. We sniff them, we sip them, we kibitz about them. John tells us a little bit about the brewery. Sometimes he even tells us a little bit about brewing history. Today is a special event because we have Sydney Foster with us, and we're very excited about that. We've been trying to get her to join us, and because I know how much she enjoys beer and whiskey, and so she's a bartender at one of my favorite joints here in Greenville, which is Sobeys on Main Street. And welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We are happy to have you join us because, quite frankly, I get really bored with John.
Oh, well, I'm very excited to be here.
Should
John.
I even get bored with me?
John, after that magnificent introduction, what do we
You
have?
want me to waste some time, or you want me to jump right into the beer?
Let's jump right in.
Okay,
Unless you have something.
No, let's go.
Okay.
So we are drinking a beer from one of our local guys, but one of our local guys who's got some amount of distribution around the area, around the South. That's Westbrook beer. They're out of Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and they're most
Charleston, which is basically
Charleston. Sorry, my B.
There's that lingo.
I'm sure the kids aren't saying that anymore.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So Westbrook's definitely, I think, most famous for a Mexican cake, which we were talking about because there's some on draft here. And we're running out of time, but we're talking about trying to get to Mexican cake too. But Dark Helmet, I am very excited about because we haven't gotten any Dark Helmet. I don't know that they've made any for a couple of years because it didn't even make it up here. I was down at their brewery a month or so ago and noticed that Dark Helmet was on the menu. And I was like, oh man, we don't get any Dark Helmet up in Greenville anymore. And then when we were looking for beers today, the owner here was like, triumphant return of Dark Helmet. I was like, it's here. So this is...
and that's exactly what he did. It's here.
That's pretty much exactly what I did. I'm definitely on the wagon of dark lager. Czech dark lager very specifically, but dark lager is easily, right now, my current favorite beer style. It's so clean, so easy, flavorful, smooth, usually not much bitterness. Schwarzbier, very particularly, has coffee. It's not brewed with coffee. They just use black patent malt that creates these big coffee flavors that aren't in a lot of other dark lagers. Schwarz is the German word for black, so that just means black beer. But Schwarz was famously used by Mr. Mel Brooks in a movie where this beer may or I don't know if we're allowed to say that word. I think that word's trademarked.
Oh, Jesus. You and your trademark crap. Spaceballs.
So they named this beer Dark Helmet, which should be a fairly obvious reference to anyone who's ever seen Spaceballs.
Right.
So,
and if you haven't seen it, it's on Prime or Netflix, one or the other.
I'm going home to watch it because I've never seen it.
I think it's
really?
I don't think.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
It's a parody of Star Wars.
Maybe I have seen that because, We'll talk about it.
Ladies first. No, you guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm pouring a beer.
Well, I think I've seen it. I've seen like the little like cover for it, but I was younger, so I was like, "Can I watch that?"
Yeah. It
Allowed
is, and I don't think you have to know Star Wars
to watch it.
to watch it.
I'm a Star Wars
but
girl.
it-
I know Star
it-
Wars.
Okay, well then you'll
It
you'll,
would make it better.
yes, it would make it better.
Yeah, I'm a
you'll
Star Wars
get a
girl.
kick
I've
out
seen
of it.
all of them.
But the Darth Vader character in Star Wars is played by Rick Moranis, who's probably about your height,
Oh,
and he's got this helmet that is
It's
like
wider
this
than
big.
his shoulders, I think.
And it is, I mean, it is hysterical from the
Rick
beginning to end.
Moranis, you would know from either Ghostbusters or from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. If
I've
you've
seen both of those. Which
Yeah.
character?
He's
Is he
the-
He's
He's
the
the
dad,
dad.
in
The dad,
Honey, I
yeah.
Shrunk the Kids.
With the
Yeah.
glasses.
And
So
he's,
he's-
Goza or
Yeah.
something, the gatekeeper,
yeah,
the
right.
keeper, and
Okay, yeah, I know exactly who that
Ghostbusters.
is. Yes.
So we digress.
In honor of all those wonderful people,
Yes,
let's taste this beer.
Texas Miss Lily. That seems so. We just
This is
had
a-
a 15%
Right.
barrel aged stout, and I'm going to have to get my.
This is our palate
taste-
cleanser.
I'm going to have to get
Yeah.
my palate.
What I just said, don't judge
Oh
it
yeah.
by your
oh,
first
yes,
sip.
Yes.
Judge it by your second sip.
Take a breath.
Take a breath. Right. Then come back to it. Because there's
Is our. Maybe this is a stupid question, but
There's
it wouldn't
no
be.
such thing.
It wouldn't be the first one that I.
there are
that I'd
but
ask
there are
John.
stupid people.
Yes,
There you go. Yeah.
there are.
Russ is not one of them though.
Is a dark lager the same as a black lager?
Well, yes. Dark lagers don't have to be black lagers, but black lagers are dark lagers. So when you say dark lager, you can mean black lager.
What's the difference?
Yeah, I'm confused. You lost
There's
me.
not a. It's more of a sliding scale, I guess. Like Pilsner is a kind of lager. Dark lager is also a kind of dark lager, and Schwarzbier or black lager is sort of a kind of dark lager. So we're just working along a spectrum here. There's no.
Is there any difference in flavor or in
So when you get to
brewing,
something
or-
that's really specifically Schwarzbier or anything called black lager, you're going to be getting into a lot more of these coffee flavors. So you're going to have dark chocolate, coffee, bread crust, super roasted. Whereas if you were drinking a Czech dark lager, it might be just a little bit more bready, a little bit more doughy, less roasted, less coffee bitter. You might still get the same chocolate flavors. You might still get like maybe a cold press coffee flavor or something that's not quite so bitter, roasted. Because I don't find this beer bitter, but I do find
don't
it
either.
roasted.
Yes.
And that's a hallmark of black lager. So German style versus Czech style versus English style versus, several. We could go down the road. Probably every modern brewing culture has a black lager somewhere in its history or a dark lager somewhere in its history, because before the invention of the kiln and indirect fire, everything was dark lager. And that's why pale ale became such a nebulous word, because it was the middle 1800s before anything was ever anything but dark lager. Everything was brown, everything tasted smoky, everything was dried, all the grains were dried over a fire, so they all tasted like smoke. Everything was murky because there was no kind of real filtration. You just waited for the stuff to settle to the bottom and tried to dip it out at the top. So the late 17 and early 1800s were the first time we ever had clear beer, ever.
This is the beer history part. Pay attention. Write this down.
And this is why I keep saying that for 10,000 years we tried to get beer clear as a human race. And one beer style came along and ruined it for everybody.
Here we go. You buckle up. Here we go.
I won't go down that road. I'll just leave that alone.
Well,
We'll
anybody
get back to talking about this beer.
anybody who watches us with any regularity knows he's talking about
And-
hazy IPAs.
And we thank you both.
Yeah, both of you for tuning in once again. But yeah, John sets off on
I'm on a mission from God to rid the world of hazy IPA.
Oh my God,
IPAs.
it's not,
No, it's true.
I love hazy IPAs.
We need to get you a taste of
We do.
I like hazies and I
Of
like
the one-
stouts. Those
the-
are my
Yeah.
two
the one that we have up there.
favorites.
I just have. I think hazy IPAs make brewers lazy,
Oh.
and that's about as far as I'm willing to go with it on this particular episode.
I hope
Yeah.
the two of you are not a brewer or lazy.
Right.
He is calling you
Or a
out
combination
right now.
of
or
brewer and
both.
brewer,
So
yeah. Yeah, no, if anybody who's ever watched this show was a brewer who brewed hazy IPAs, they'd never watch again. They were like, they would get a comment like, and yeah, that would be the end of that. John.
I just.
So anything
do what I
else?
can.
So anything else?
No.
Okay,
I think
well-
we've talked enough. Westbrook's one of our local guys, Charleston, South Carolina.
Yep.
I think they're just did their 13th or 14th anniversary, so a little head of steam behind them. and some
What's their signature?
Mexican cake.
Oh.
Mexican cake is the one that everybody knows.
Yep.
It's the one that you could trade for if you could trade beers.
yeah.
You could get almost anything you wanted for a Mexican cake.
So damn lucky. See you next time.
Damn.